Thanks for listening to the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast, where each week we talk about a free piece or two of technology that you can use in your classroom. I'm your host, Shannon Martin. I'm a middle school teacher, technology coach, and personalized learning coordinator for my district.
And I'm her producer/husband, Fuzz Martin.
Today, we are talking about...
Online quizzes part 2?
Online quizzes part 2!
Because we did online quizzes part 1 last week, so I assumed this week... I took a quiz, actually, and it said this week we would be doing online quizzes again.
So clever. We are going to talk about Quizlet and Quizlet Live, Gimkit, and
quizzzzzz. With lots of Z's.
With lots of Z's. And actually, every time I type it, I feel like I type even more Z's than there are. I type like 5 or 6 Z's just because it's quizzing.
It is.
And I might throw a couple others out there that we're not going to get into too much detail, but we'll kind of mention them a little bit.
Okay.
So many things with quizzing. Last week we covered Kahoot and Pear Deck and Cram.com. This week, like we said, Quizlet, Gimkit, and quizzes. As teachers, I think we're using a lot of quizzing type software and stuff for formative assessment. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is Quizlet and Quizlet Live. If you are unfamiliar with Quizlet, basically if you Google root words or something and you look for quizzing in Google, Quizlet comes up automatically just because there's so many quizzes out there.
Okay.
For vocabulary practice, that I think Quizlet it comes up often when you're searching for flashcards online. What's nice about Quizlet, so you can you sign up, you create your login, and then as a teacher, you have your whole classroom. You're able to add classes and share the flashcards with your students. So you type in whatever information you want your students to know. You type in the definitions. Students can also do this too. Teachers don't have to. But what's really nice about Quizlet is you have so many different options. So you can practice them where you just flip flashcards back and forth. Obviously, digital flashcards. It will give you the word that you're looking for, and you can type in the definition. So you write your definitions. It has the chance to practice your spelling. It has the testing. It has matching. And then also, I kind of threw it out there last week when we talked about Cram.com, how you could play the games. And Quizlet, there's also games. There's a gravity game in there where you have to type in your answers. So in the free version, you have a ton of options built right into Quizlet that you don't have to pay for, which is really nice. So, I don't know. It's kind of the go-to. I feel like Kahoot is interactive shouting out information, but Quizlet, right, if you're doing flashcards, is going to be a go-to, easy to find.
Now, do most kids do you do this in front of the whole classroom, and they enter their answers on their devices, or do they?
Quizlet, when regular Quizlet is more kind of one-on-one, or you can do small groups. You can definitely do it as a whole class, but I feel like this is kind of a way for students to review on their own.
Okay.
I do use it for sometimes we do root words with reading, and then we kind of do it as a whole class when we flip through the flashcards together. So you definitely can do it as a whole class if you're projecting it, but it's easier, I think, if students are working one-on-one. It's great for vocabulary practice, or if you've got steps, like in science class, if there's steps to a method that you need them to know, it's a great way to do that. But then if you switch into the other half of Quizlet is Quizlet Live, and you can use the same sets of flashcards, but then in the live game, you click live, which is going to be one little box that you can choose to study from. And as a teacher, you can set it up so your whole class can play, or just groups of students can play. And then they work in teams to answer the questions that are set up. So everyone has their own device. They're set up in teams, and then they have to work collaboratively to figure out what the right answer is.
Okay.
So it's not just where everyone gets the same set of answers right in front of them at the same time. They're mixed up differently, and only one person in the group has the right answers.
Okay.
In the correct order.
Yep.
So then they have to work as a group and kind of figure out that. And on the teacher computer, it tracks the group's progress. So it not only is just shouting out whoever can answer it fastest, but actually it has them work collaboratively, which is really nice that you're able to do that.
Now, did you say kids log in with their Google ID, or is this a separate?
This one you can set up through Google.
Okay.
And then, or you can sign in either way. You
can create an account.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. You're able to do that. And then also there is a, like if you want to try the upgrade, they give you like a 30-day free trial if you want to up it. The thing is with Quizlet, I love the free version so much. I mean, you could upgrade Quizlet, but there's so many options in the free version. It's kind of like, wow, you're pretty set to go. I know it gives you more choices, and then you can track things better and
sure
and stuff like that. But in the free version, there's so many things, and you can work individually or collaboratively, and you can play games, or you can match, or you can write, or there's lots of cool choices in Quizlet, and I know lots of people use it. So Quizlet. First quiz of the day.
There you go.
Today.
All right.
How many times can you say quiz? I feel like we should
quiz.
We could start counting. Quiz.
We'll just hit a bell every time we say quiz.
Ding.
Except for then we'd probably wake up our young child. And then we'd have to redo this podcast.
Correct. Daylight savings. Not good for anybody.
Daylight savings is...
That's rough.
Stressful.
Everyone just wants to sleep, but not really.
Yeah.
It's early but late, but
I know.
So confusing.
It is. I think I'm once we get done on here, I think I'm gonna lobby our congressman to get rid of it. We'll see. And by lobby, I mean send a nasty email.
I don't think that's going to work out so well for you. I think it'll just go into the bin of,
yes, thank you for this. Thank you for your suggestion.
Heard about before.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, into that, we're going to move on to Gimkit.
Gimkit
is a newer quizzing software, not like super new, but newer.
Okay.
And I feel like, oh my gosh, it is so cool. But man, do they rope you in where you're going to, like, you want to go pro and like pay for it. But the whole point is to not pay for it.
So where Quizlet does a good job of, well, maybe a bad business job, but a good job of giving you so many things.
Options, right?
Gimkit gets you
sucked in.
Feeds you a little bit and wants you to want more.
Gimkit is also, I should say Quizlet can be used for any, I feel like most grade levels. Like you can start probably 3rd grade and up, where you can look, because even 2nd grade, 1st grade, like with a little help, Quizlet is fine. Gimkit, I feel like, is focused more like middle school, high school.
Okay.
It is super competitive.
All right.
So Quizlet, you have more of your like flashcards and your games you can play individually. Gimkit is built to play in a competitive nature in your classroom. So it's set up as a teacher where you log in. It is not a Google login.
Okay.
And so you create your, I always call it like a deck or flashcards, but it's not. Here it's called a kit. Mm-hmm. And so you come up with your topic, and they have little pictures actually that they'll feed you when you type your topic in. You type in your questions, you type in your answers, you set it all up to get ready to play. And the questions as they come up when you're interacting with students look, I guess, kind of similar to Kahoot, where you've got like your question and then you've got four answers below it, and they're in different colors. Well, with Gimkit, as you're playing with your class, if you get an answer right, they get money, like they get fake money.
Okay.
So then It gets super competitive because they want to earn money, because then there's a shop and you can buy stuff with your money. So when you go to play, like as a teacher, you can go right into preview mode, which is kind of fun, because so you load in your questions. As a student, you can see it. You go through and you can earn $1, you can earn $3, you can earn $10. It kind of ups the ante here and there. Then you go to the shop and you can change the amount of money that you lose or gain per question. There's a streak bonus where you can get extra amounts. There's a multiplier. Then there's like power-ups where you can like discount things, and there's a mini bonus, and then you can change the theme, so then you can spend your money and change the background themes of the questions. So there's a whole lot going on. You get insurance, like quote unquote insurance, to only pay a percentage back if you answer something wrong. Then you don't lose all of your money. Mm-hmm. So not only are you like answering questions, but then there's this huge, like, you want to earn money while you're playing, so then you can like switch up other people's games, and holy cow. So One of our science teachers has used it, and she's like on the edge of paying for it. This is where they get you. And then a couple of our science teachers are using it because the kids get super competitive, but they're really getting the knowledge too. So while they're competitive, they're like taking and then absorbing the information, which is the whole point of all of this quizzing stuff we do, is to see what our kids know.
Yeah.
But with GimKit, you have to pay after you create 5 kits.
Okay.
Which means you only can create 5 quizzes.
And then you'd have to like delete them, and if you wanted to.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if they let you delete them.
Okay.
So you get 5, and you only get 1 edit per kit in the free version. So say like you create your whole GimKit, and it's awesome, and you play it, and you realize one of your questions, you like misspelled something, and you're one of those people that can't get over a misspelling. Or your kids will point it out to you every 5 seconds that you misspelled the one word in the one question in that one quiz that you did. And you'll never live it down, ever. So if you have, and you can go back and you can edit it, but that's it. It's the only time you can edit that quiz. So if you ever wanted to add more questions to it, or you found out you had a second spelling error, oh my gosh, you're going to have to live with it unless you go pay for it.
Okay.
Or unless you created another kit, but it would be the same set of questions. So they really get you, because your students will want to buy in, and they're going to want to literally go, buy into your quiz, but you only get 5 free ones and 5 edits.
Good to know. But
GimKit, it's worth trying, just because. And if you say you've got like 4 or 5 just really good topics or things that you want to like amp up in your classroom, or there's something else you want to try and just jazz it up, I say go for it, because GimKit's really fun and highly engaging. Just try it out and see how your students react to it. I do think definitely it's a little older audience, just because it does get super competitive with that kind of stuff.
Right. That makes sense.
And that is user friendly, but for littler kids. I mean, older kids would be fine.
So GimKit, GIMKIT.
Yes.
GimKit.
GimKit.
Don't
which
pronounce
is not,
it Gymkit.
Right.
Because it's not for physical education.
Well, and it's not a quiz like everything else. I guess
No.
like Kahoot or Pear Deck.
Right.
Cram. So this is the only one this week that doesn't have quiz in the title of our
So between
fantastic
Quizlet and GimKit, which one's easier to set up?
I would say Quizlet is definitely easier to set up, and students can create their own Quizlets. It doesn't have to be a teacher. GimKit, I suppose a student could go and create a teacher account for GimKit, but it's more, I think GimKit's more for teachers versus Quizlet's kind of.
No, but
anybody.
I mean just like setting up a quiz.
Yeah, setting up a quiz, it would be easier for a teacher or an older student to do it.
Okay.
But Quizlet's definitely more user friendly when it comes to setting things up and practicing.
And then what about quizzes? So QUIZIZZ.
Yes.
Quizzes.
Quizzes is fantastic. I mean, I feel like all of these quizzes have their own little niche. So like there'll be certain teachers that love different things. And so it's kind of your preference. But quizzes, I feel, is similar to Quizlet. It just has more options. Not more options, I shouldn't say, different options when it comes to your choices. So you log into Quizzzzzz. And from there, you set up your quiz. You can go through, and it's creating a collection. You type in if you're going to have like the name of it, and then you've got your public or private, the way you set it up. And then you can just create your quizzes, and collection is where you like sort them all to organize your quizzes. And then go through, create a new quiz, and you're able to just enter the name, go through and enter all the information, and you can add a little picture in there if you want to. And from there, you can either search existing questions. So if other people have already created something on the topic, they're there for you to search from. Or you can create your own, and you set up multiple choice questions. You can also add pictures into there. And you can have your different answers, just all, single answer. You also have you can have multi-select too, if you choose to. And then you set up your questions. And then from there, you have your quiz. You can choose to make your quiz live, or you'd play it in class, similar to Kahoot, or like Quizlet Live.
Mm-hmm.
You can play a live game where you're like quizzing and answering, or you can create a homework game where you have the questions set up for your students and you want them to practice at home. That would be great for like if students are doing some video work or some flipped classroom work at home where they've got certain things to go watch or review at home, and then they can kind of quick review if they know the content before they come to class the next day. And when you set it up for homework, it connects to your Google Classroom. Look, you didn't even know, and then I told you. So it's really nice. You can also connect to Edmodo, and there's one more that it can connect to, and I can't think of it right now as I'm frantically zipping through my website here. Remind, which you're familiar with, Remind. And so you're able to share your game code, and once you do that, your students have access to it at home, or they're on their device, wherever they are, and then they can practice the quizzes that you put together, for a great way for students to review at home, to double check their knowledge, or to quiz them before they come to class to see if they know some of the background information that you want them to understand. So quizzzzzz, which is super cool. I just think that the fact that it connects to Google Classroom is always like a bonus in my world, because it's just one more thing that I can easily link in. All the other things you can always link in, like Quizlet, you can easily link into Google Classroom. But it's just kind of nice when they give you the share directly on button, and you can just click on that and it puts it right there. So that's cool. You also can pull some reports from this one where you can kind of see who's taking the quiz and how they're doing, or percentages overall of how students are understanding it, which is nice as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then, so this one has the live kind of classroom screen as well. And then, I see. Okay. Are teachers using Remind? Okay, I've only known Remind from a athletics perspective.
Yep.
So are people?
Yes, Remind is used frequently at our school. Not just homework assignments are sent home to parents, or communication with families.
Or bring in your permission slip.
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
Or the cookies that you need to bake for the country that you're studying and you forgot about and you get the Remind at 7:00 at night. Yes, Remind is used frequently. Interesting, there was some stuff that was going on with Remind where certain phone carriers weren't going to use it, but then they changed that because there was a lot of teachers backlash and teachers saying, hey, we use this for educational purposes, and they fixed it. So
great.
Yes, Remind is used. You as a parent have experienced it.
I have. I'm only just starting to get a taste of it since
track
one of our daughters is in track now, and I received 4 notifications yesterday. So
there you go. See, and you are well informed.
I am.
But yeah, so
thanks for reminding me.
That's so clever. So Remind, as a teacher, you can totally use Remind too if you want to send stuff home to parents and students.
Well, is that a free app? Or is that a paid app? I assumed it was paid, but we don't have to look at it at this show. If it's free, we'll talk about it some other time.
Parent reminders. We'll do a whole episode
it's
on parent reminders.
On quizzing. So you had a couple other things that you wanted to mention.
Just a couple of we're not going to go into too far detail, but Hypersay I've played around with a little bit. The one thing I kind of looked into it was that it connected to PowerPoint, so you could kind of make your PowerPoint interactive, where I know I live in Google World all the time.
Yeah.
And a lot of teachers do, but I know that there's a lot of teachers that still use PowerPoint or have PowerPoints from past years and stuff. So Hypersay does work with PowerPoint, where you can kind of make them a little more interactive. And it also does connect with Google Slides too. Sometimes though there's glitches, it's not as clean, but it does work. And then Poll Everywhere, it allows you to gather information. You can throw out polls and question people on stuff, which is you could build into quizzing.
Sure.
And you can poll things everywhere.
You poll
when you want to poll people on things. Speaking of polls, I have one quick poll that I was excited to share. So on my Facebook page, the Tech Tools for Teachers Facebook page, I put a poll out this evening.
All right.
And I asked teachers which they used more, either Kahoot or Pear Deck, since those are the things we talked about last week.
Yeah.
As of now, remember, this is like a 6-day poll, so we got 6 more days, or 7 more, it's 7-day poll, so we got 6 more days to go after today. So feel free to vote in my poll. Right now, we're at Kahoot is at 67% of teachers are using Kahoot in my poll, and 33% are using Pear Deck.
Oh, great.
Which I thought was interesting. So if you want to vote, you can go on the Facebook page and vote if you are into Kahoot or Pear Deck more. And I might throw in another poll for this week's choices, and we'll make it a big competition as to which quizzing software you use the most in your classroom.
So let's do a one-person poll right now for you. Out of the quizzes, day 1, episode 1, and online quizzes, episode 2, if you needed to make a World War II quiz and give it to your students tomorrow morning, which one would you use?
Well, that's funny because I have them created in all of them. So out of last week's...
Which one do you enjoy using the most?
Yeah, I use them all for different things. Like, they have different purposes. So if I'm basing it off one of my Google slideshows I've already put together, I will use Pear Deck very quickly. But to me, that's more like reflective. I use that for student reflection within the classroom. If I'm just quizzing on content quick, I would pick Kahoot.
All right.
If I'm using it for a individual student review, then I give it to them in cram.com. Out of this week, I would use Quizlet for the purpose of flashcards and knowing vocab. I have a GimKit already made for World War II, and so I would be using GimKit for World War II for this week. And for quizzes, because it connects to Google Classroom, I would have the students have their own sort of review assignment with that. So,
all right.
Boom. I can cover all 6 of them with one assignment if I wanted to. But I feel like they all have their own purpose, and everyone kind of finds their niche as to what works best for you in your classroom.
Well, that's why we're talking about them.
Yeah, and I would love to know too, because I know like there's tons more quizzing softwares out there. I can't do part 3 and part 4. I feel like people might be like, all right, we've heard enough
with the quizzing.
But if you have a cool one, suggest it.
Maybe once we get a couple of suggestions around, we'll throw a pop online quizzes episode. Pop quiz.
Oh, look at you.
Come on.
So
all right, fine.
That's amazing. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. This has been the Tech Tools for Teachers podcast. If you ever have any questions, you can find me at SmartNWI on Twitter. And if you want to get more information on the links to the technology discussed in this episode, you can visit smartnwi.com. New episodes each week. Thanks for listening. Go educate and innovate.
The ideas and opinions expressed in this podcast and the Smart NWI website are those of the author, Shanna Martin, and not of her employer. Prior to using any of the technologies discussed in this podcast, please consult with your employer regulations. This podcast offers no guarantee that these tools will work for you as described, but we hope they do. Have a great week. Thanks for listening.